All right, everyone. In this video, I want to talk about time versus productivity, because I feel like with my YouTube channel, I love to talk about casino affiliate marketing also, but I also really, in a sense, want to be able to help you, especially if you are new to this entrepreneurship, because maybe some of you are more used to working maybe a 9-to-5 job where you are going to work at 9 in the morning and then you go home at 5 in the evening. And while it is still a pretty good principle to, try to put in the hours that you work every day, I kind of want to talk a bit about how it differs being an employee versus being your own boss or having your own company. Because I have learned this myself through countless and multiple errors that I feel like I have done myself inside of my own productivity. So yeah, it is what this video is going to be about. My name is Adam. I'll be casino affiliate marketing, or I've had my own business for 8 years. So while I am not an expert at any of these topics, growth, life hacking and stuff like that, I do like to talk about it as well. So I'm going to do that in this video, and let's get started immediately. So like I mentioned in the introduction of this video, time does not equal productivity. I think that time is one of the factors that is needed in order to, even have any productivity, because if you don't spend any time at all, obviously you cannot be productive. So you need time, but the time does not equal productivity. So working more hours doesn't mean getting more stuff done. I think that this is kind of self-explanatory. And I want to talk a bit on how to spend your time, or kind of how to measure your productivity, rather than just deciding that today I'm going to work on my project like 5 to 9, or 5 to 9, that's a long work day, but 9 to 5, or whatever it might be. Obviously, like I mentioned also, it's good to have time frames and also treat it like a real business, not just like working sporadically here and there. But yeah, I think you kind of already understand where I'm going with this video. So let's go to the next one. I want to talk a bit about why I feel like time is still one of the biggest measurements, especially in a workplace, if you're working for someone else. And I think one of the biggest factor here is because it is so easy to measure. Let's say that you are a business owner, you are a boss. Maybe people here that is watching me already started outsourcing some of their tasks. Maybe they are measuring the progress for their own employees just in time. Basically ask them how many hours did you work this week? How many hours did you work this month? And so it's very easy to measure because you basically just get one number. And I think also one of the reasons why companies want people to work certain hours, because it ensures that they're always available to them. And I kind of understand this in a sense, because you need to have a clear flow of communication in a company. It doesn't really equal spending time on task and also being available. But just from my own kind of just observation from this, I think that this is one of the reasons. And I think that this is based on outdated management models, because especially coming from Sweden, we have kind of like the Swedish model that some of you have heard about. I think especially Spotify was very early with this model, that people are working more under responsibility rather than just meeting like hours to work every week. So that's how I grew up with this. And this was just a bit backstory of my own thoughts about why we are still kind of measuring in time instead of in productivity or in getting stuff done. So the problem with measuring time alone is that it creates like a false sense of accomplishment. Let's say that you've been working all day and you feel like, oh, today I did 8 hours of work. Now I need to reward myself, whatever it might be. It is better to put like small deadlines. I'm going to talk about deadlines as well, in order to really see what you're accomplishing. I think that one of my own strategies here is to make very simple to-do lists every day to see that I managed to get everything done that day that I wanted to get done. If that takes me 2 hours, if that takes me 10 hours, it doesn't really matter, because I know what I want to get done. It also kind of encourages busy work, because if you know that you're going to spend a whole day working anyway, maybe you're going to spend it differently than if you where to have your specific task that you wanted to get finished. So then you're going to, I think, subconsciously going to optimize the process in a different way. And I feel like there has never been like a clear link between time spent and the value created, because there's a lot of other factors that also comes in when it comes to the actual output of the work that you are doing. And I actually want to show, because I prepared this as well in the video. I created this video. I'm going to link it in the description, because I think that this is a really good video that I created. Doesn't have that many views, I don't really care, but for the people that watched it, thank you already. The first part of this video is talking about optimism and kind of how to succeed, how to not fail, basically. And I really do believe in this process a lot. And the second part of this video, I'm talking about leverage, how to leverage your time, how to get as much output as possible in your life and your work. And basically it's like this, the more leverage you have, the less time you need in order to get the same output. This is the example. If you're dropping this time here, and this is your leverage, the output is not going to fly that high. And leverage is basically your knowledge. But on the flip side, if you have more leverage, this is your leverage now, and you drop this time here, the output is going to fly very high. So that's why I'm advocating a lot about learning as much as you can before you're starting to put in the work, because the more leverage you have, the better it's going to be, basically. So that's my take on that. This one, I just kind of added it. We were never really taught productivity. And I feel like this is true because we are taught from jobs that is teaching us that we are trading time for salary. Obviously, there are jobs that are more commission-based. But if we are taught to prioritize or create our leverage, that is going to decrease our time and increase our output of the work that we are doing. And in one way that we are learning this is actually from university. At least this is from my own personal experience. Because coming from high school to university, where high school, you go into the class every day, they basically just like telling you what to do and you kind of just like following in the footsteps. And when I came to university, it was completely different. They said basically you have a test in 3 months, good luck. And then they don't really give you any guidance. Obviously, you are getting, the task, and you're getting the books and stuff like that. But you have to really start managing your deadlines, and you have to be able to prepare way in advance in order to be able to pass the exams. And I learned a lot about this in law school. So I feel like every time someone asks me, do you regret going to law school? I always say that I learned so much about my own personal progress that I do not regret at all going to law school. Of course, I learned a lot about law, which I'm very grateful for. But I also learned, like I said, how to manage my time. I learned how to have a more critical thinking. And I also learned how to optimize my time. And it's the same thing with entrepreneurs. So if you are an entrepreneur, maybe you're bad at this in the beginning, but I think slowly and steadily, you're going to start understand that if you can really try to figure out what you really need to get done, it's going to slowly replace this idea that you need to spend X amount of hours rather than reaching certain goals. So as an entrepreneur, time is your most limited resource because time is a resource. And you basically become forced to prioritize what moves the business forward. Because unlike when you are hired by someone and you kind of maybe don't really like your job, you feel like one task is going to take you 1 hour, but you feel like, oh, I spent 1 hour on this and now I can just like chill the rest of the day. And that is never going to happen if you are in charge of your own results or in your own return on investment. So you're going to learn this. You can learn it in different ways. Obviously, you can learn it through trial and error, or you can learn it like I have been doing a lot by maybe reading books about it. You can also watch very smart people on YouTube. You're listening to this video, so maybe that is going to maybe kickstart your brain into trying to optimize this even more, because this video is not going to be enough maybe to fully understand all of this. This is just an overview video that I put together. So hopefully you are already on the right track to maximize your productivity. And also I want to talk about how to prioritize, because if you have kind of like 8-hour days that you're going to work, there's no real need to optimize these days because you have 8 hours. Obviously, there are some things that is going to be more important to get done. But if you have a checklist with stuff that needs to be done, you can put them in order of importance. And I feel personally that I have never in my life decided that, okay, I'm going to work X amount of hours. Like I'm going to work until 4 o'clock. I'm going to work until 6 o'clock. I've always been working until I've gotten stuff done, basically. So I always try to focus on what really matters at the moment. Because if you feel like, okay, I'm going to do this after lunch, I'm going to do this thing at 6 o'clock, I'm going to start prioritizing this at this time. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, everyone has different, approaches to how they are spending your time. But maybe some people just need to have a time frame in order to be able to, hold themselves accountable to actually get stuff done. But like I mentioned, using checklists and deadlines, I think that for me, at least, that is way more productive. I get way more stuff done. And also learn what to prioritize from someone more experienced. Let's say that you are working on your casino affiliate website and you feel like you need to spend a lot of time finding maybe casino operators in the beginning, when someone maybe like me that understands that spending like 80% of your time in the beginning when you don't have any traffic and negotiating the highest deals is not really going to give you any return on your investment of your time, because if you don't have any traffic, it doesn't really matter how good your deals are or what type of brands you have listed. So if you would ask me, for example, what you should prioritize, I would tell you completely different things based on what stage you are in your progress. So if you have any questions about this, there is a link in the description where you can book a free call with me. So we can talk about this as well. Maybe you have questions about what you should focus on in the moment, because it is hard if you're completely new to something to know what you should prioritize. I have a really good example of this actually, because on my first website, I built a comparison table in purely in HTML. So every time I needed to change the order of the comparison table, I needed to change the HTML code, basically copy paste it and move it down, copy another part, move it up, change the logo in HTML, and then I had to copy that to all of my different pages throughout my site. So just kind of like changing the position on one brand or adding a new brand, removing a brand, it took me so much time. Instead, I found a way to be able to do all of this in the backend, because I hired a developer that could help me fix this. And from spending a lot of time kind of rearranging my comparison table to basically being able to do it in just a matter of seconds, that really helped me. Another example I have is in the beginning, I talked to an operator, and then they had like 4 or 5 different brands. And I told them that I'm going to do like a quiz on my website, which of their brands is going to be best for the person taking the quiz. I spent so much time like writing these quiz questions and the answers. I found like 1 or 2 plugins that I could make the quiz in. And I don't know, like I probably sent 0 FTDs from making this quiz. And I think I spent 2 whole days just creating this quiz. So that was a complete waste of my prioritization. If I could spend that time on something else, I would probably have done it. I also feel like people that are spending time in front of the computer working, they are trying to multitask a lot. And I feel like, I actually saw a video about this, so I don't remember the video, but someone talking about multitasking, that our brain is not really wired to be able to multitask. Even though we think that we are multitasking, we're actually not. Because the brain cannot keep 2 things in the head at the same time. You are basically task switching to something else. So it kind of resets your brain activity every time you start focusing on something else. So the multitasking I'm not talking about is obviously if you're, jogging or you're driving your car. Obviously you can still listen to a podcast, that's fine. But maybe if you're driving your car, you cannot eat at the same time, maybe. So I think you understand what type of multitasking I'm talking about. Because if you are, for example, you're in and you're maybe adding some content to your website and you still have your Teams open or you have your email open and you're sitting and doing that, and then you get an email. So you go in and click on the email, you read that, maybe reply, you go back to maybe your WordPress dashboard, and then you get a message from Teams. So you kind of use like switching tasks like this all the time. Obviously, as the head of our own company, we have to be vigilant of what is happening all the time. But I've noticed that, let's say that I'm doing some content management, I'm adding content or I'm doing something else, or if I'm creating a PowerPoint presentation, whatever it might be, if I'm editing a video, I'm always trying to close the Teams, close my Slack, close my email, close my Facebook, maybe turn my phone upside down so that I can really, hone in and focus on one task at a time. Because I promise you that if you put like a timer and you do the task twice, I think that you can do it almost twice as fast as if you were like jumping between different things at the same time. So this is really going to, I think, burst and increase your productivity. The 2 Ps, I saw this one in some Stanford Business School presentation that I watched on YouTube. And they were talking about perfectionism and procrastination. I talk about this a lot with my own students. People that are trying to be perfectionists, they're afraid of starting, they're afraid of launching, they think that they're going to fail, and they're spending too much time on the last 10%. So I think I talk about the 80-20 rule as well. Some people might already know it, and maybe I'm not quoting it correctly, but you can spend basically 20% of your time on 80% of the results, and the last 20% of the results usually takes like 80% of the time. Obviously, we're in a niche, casino affiliate marketing, that is very competitive, so we actually have to push ourselves pretty hard in order to be able to compete on the market. But don't focus too much on perfection, because it's going to slow down your productivity and your results a lot. Same with procrastination. I think that subconsciously procrastination is the fear of finishing something, or basically just like the lack of motivation, because that is also something that we have to think about. Try to replace your motivation with discipline. Like I mentioned before, if you are multitasking, your motivation is going to steer towards the thing that you are more motivated to. For example, if it is scrolling Instagram or TikTok and you are more motivated to do that, the brain is going to switch to that. But if you try to practice your discipline instead, the discipline is going to tell you that you need to focus on the task that you are doing currently. So that is very hard, obviously, for a lot of people, for me included. But if you can kind of train that as much as you can, I think that that is going to really help with your procrastination as well. So if you have problems with kind of getting stuff done, I think that setting smaller deadlines, shorter deadlines, smaller steps, I think that that is really going to help. If you're making, like I do, to-do lists, make it really easy to finish one of your to-do things. Don't put very like overview deadlines. Put like small things. It could be like paying an invoice. If you have 5 invoices to pay, put 5 of them on the to-do list. You can like click, because that is very satisfying for me to see a long list of to-dos getting, checked off. So try to think about this as well. I think that this is important. And I also want to talk quickly about mental energy, because that is very important. The brain doesn't really have that many decisions it can take every day. And some very successful people have understood this. For example, Steve Jobs, he's wearing the same outfit every day because he wants to reduce his decisions. I'm kind of the same. I'm wearing a different shirt today, but usually I have just different colored t-shirts, and I just take the front one and I put it on. Also a bit because I'm lazy. You don't have to go to this extreme, obviously, that Steve Jobs is doing, but try to think about this as well. I'm eating the same breakfast every day because I don't have to think the day before what breakfast I'm going to eat. I have very strict routines, even if I'm living in Bali, because here it's very hard to have strict routines because every day kind of feels like vacation. So kind of mapping out your day, maybe the night before, I think it's very beneficial. The checklists that I've been talking about quite a lot is checklists that I'm writing the day before, the night before, when I'm in bed, so that you can just wake up and all of the decisions have already been taken for you, basically. You just have to go through your checklist. So yeah, try to remove as many unnecessary decisions as you can every day. You can also go to YouTube and watch more in-depth videos about this, but I think that this is important. And obviously, another thing that is important is your overall physical health. Try to exercise, try to sleep, try to keep track of your nutrition. I'm not saying that you should count every macro and calorie that you're putting in your body, but it is important to start your day with maybe some, carbs, because that is really going to help your focus. Taking power naps. I love taking power naps. I do it almost every day. That really helps me. Try to get some good sleep in every night. If you are an entrepreneur and you are in control of your own time, that is really good, because I don't have to set my alarm clock at 5 a.m. every morning. So usually I fall asleep at around maybe 1 a.m. I wake up at 9 a.m. every day. So I get my 8 hours of sleep every day. And I think that it really helps your focus and your productivity. And exercise as well. I like going to the gym. I like taking walks on the beach. I like to do all of that stuff. And if you don't really like it, try to find something that you like to do. For example, if you like playing basketball, maybe try to play a bit more basketball because it's fun. You're moving around, you get your heart rate up, you are increasing your energy levels. So I think that this is pretty, self-explanatory, but try to think about it a bit more. Hire the right people. I could actually kind of create a whole video about hiring the right people, but my approach to this, if we're talking about time, is that I never track my employees' time, because I feel like that is not something that is that fun. I rather track what they are delivering and their performance. And I'm very open about this. For example, if I have a developer, he's doing something and he spends, I don't know how much time he's spending. I just want the result. And obviously, if something takes too long or if something is not good enough, then you have to be a hard boss, basically letting them know that, okay, man, this was not good enough, spend more time on it. Maybe you have to hurry a bit because we have a deadline. But I like to give this freedom under responsibility, because that makes them feel more like they are a part of the team rather than just being an employee that is working to get in their hours. And that also makes them more productive, I guess, because they're getting paid not in the hour, but they're getting paid for the results. With my content writers, I'm paying them per word, so that is kind of changing the time for money in a sense. But yeah, it's very fun. I also added here like welcome disagreement from your employees. I think some of my employees, depending on where in the world they are from, because of different cultures, that they are kind of afraid sometimes to tell me what they think about something. So I'm always asking kind of things like, what do you feel about this? Do you think that this is the right approach? Are you happy with your compensation? Would you do it in another way? Do you think that the deadline is too short? Stuff like that. So you keep a very open discussion with your employees. I noticed that the time is 2:34 and I had a meeting starting 4 minutes ago, so I have to cut this video now. I actually finished this video already, but I have to cut the outro down a bit. But hope you liked this video. Book a call with me in the description, join my school community in the description, and I see you in the next video. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.